Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. As always, it is so awesome to see you. Thanks so much for dropping by. I'd like to show you a clip of me that I took, I guess it was maybe a couple weeks or so ago. And I had intended on doing a completely different video than the one I am releasing today. What's rather intriguing about this particular clip is that this is me sitting behind the drum set. I hadn't picked up a pair of sticks for about a month, and I had zero motivation to do what I had planned. None whatsoever. And, you know, it happens. And it happens perhaps more so than some people might think. I had a good friend fairly recently ask me about my creative process. I think my friend is in a little bit of a rut, and he asked me, you know, how do you get it going? And given that I've just recently been in the funk myself, I thought that I would maybe take some time today to address the topic. One of the things that has helped me over the years to get over the hump, to find motivation, to strike inspiration perhaps, is a narrative that I continually have running through my head. And I decided, you know, I'm going to write this thing down on the chance that perhaps some of the things in this list will help others. And so that's where we are today. I came up with 7 things, 7 tips that help me when I struggle creatively. And so this is for anybody who's a creative type, who may struggle from time to time, hit the creative wall, or may not even know how to begin a project. And let it be known that this is not just limited to musicians. This is for all creatives, all creative endeavors, regardless of the art form or, you know, whatever the task may be. This is the video for you. All right, here we are with tip number 1. Usually the very first thing that I try to remind myself is to not be too hard on myself. Don't be too hard on yourself. The act of creating something from nothing, to take an idea, a thought, and bring it into existence, that is no small feat. You know, whether it's a painting or a sculpture or a song or a poem or a novel or a YouTube video or whatever the case may be, you know, it takes effort and it takes time and it takes energy. And true creativity, at least from my own experience, rarely is easy. There is often a struggle behind it. And sometimes that struggle is just to get the project going. So yeah, again, it's helpful to hear, hey, don't be too hard on yourself. This is not an easy thing we're doing. Okay, here we are at tip number 2, and that would be to concentrate on the steps rather than the distance. If you focus on that huge mountain in front of you, it can be intimidating, it can be overwhelming, it can totally shut you down. But if you instead concentrate on that very first step up that mountain, if you concentrate on that step, no matter how small it is, no matter how insignificant it may seem, you know, here's the reality of it. You take that step, you are one step closer to your goal. All right? And quite often, that can be enough to get the ball rolling. It's also helpful to know, I mean, most of us know that the first step is quite often the hardest to take. I'm thinking about that novelist who's looking at a blank piece of paper. I'm thinking about, an empty canvas for a painter, or a sculptor who's looking at a blob of clay, or a musician maybe who's looking at an empty session in Pro Tools. The reality of it is that if you can take that first step relatively quickly, then, that is progress. And then you take another, and that too is progress. And even just a little bit of progress can lead to momentum. And if you get enough momentum, then all of a sudden you're looking and you're seeing even more progress start to happen. And then something magical starts to happen in the sense that, perhaps for the first time, you believe in the project. You believe that it can happen. And that can often make or break a project. So, it definitely helps to believe in what you're doing. And maybe a different way of hearing this section is don't wait until you believe in yourself 100% to begin. Because if you wait until you are 100% believe in yourself, you may never get started. Here we are at tip number 3, and that is don't overthink the process. Don't overthink the process. There really is something to that cute saying, analysis paralysis. It's when people plan so much or overthink something to death that they just don't do anything, right? It's good to have a general plan, how to get from point A to point B, but then go, do it. The future rarely turns out as any of us predicts or anticipates, and that definitely is true in the creative process. You don't have to have every detail worked out, and you don't have to anticipate every problem along the way. And sometimes it's best just to allow for some space and to allow for things to happen. All right, tip number 4 has to do more with the fear side of things that can pop up from time to time. And one of the things that I tell myself is take the chance. Take the chance. Don't be afraid if things don't work out for whatever reason. I truly believe that no effort is wasted, and even failure, while painful, can actually help us to prepare us for the future and can make a project succeed all the more. So it's good to go into it with a mindset of taking a chance, of being flexible. If problems arise, pivot, make adjustments. Perhaps it's for the better. And if the project still manages to crash and burn, then celebrate the loss. Chalk it up to a learning experience and just move on to the next project. All right, tip number 5. Sometimes when I'm in a lull or in a funk and I can't seem to get out of it, I will ask myself, are you being distracted by something? So eliminate distractions. That would be tip number 5. Now, only you can identify what distracts you in life. But one of the things that I find that distracts me is getting caught up in social media. There's enough data out there to suggest that one of the reasons that so many of us are addicted to social media is because that it's a huge dopamine release. And dopamine is that feel-good chemical within us. Now, there isn't necessarily anything wrong with that in and of itself. However, we creative types, we rely on dopamine to help us in the creative process. I know that there have been more times than not where I have said to myself, okay, I'm going to go into the studio this afternoon and I am going to be, productive. I'm going to knock it out of the park. I got a little time before then, so I'm just going to sit on my phone and I'm going to watch TikToks for a while. And then an hour goes by of scrolling or whatever. And then for whatever reason, I go, I'm not feeling it right now. I've kind of lost the fire for whatever reason. Well, that's why. So it is, social media can be a vampire sucking on our creative juices. It's good to be aware of that. So when it comes time to be productive, then perhaps, shut off the phone or close out of that computer browser. And quite frankly, sometimes boredom is the thing that we really need in order to put our best efforts forward. All right, as far as the sixth tip is concerned, it may seem a bit harsh, but I have found that it definitely helps me and kind of puts me in the right mind frame. As creators, sometimes we place perhaps more importance on our work than maybe we should. And by that, I mean, if we begin to even remotely believe that the entire world is eagerly anticipating us releasing whatever, that can be a huge weight. It can be a lot of pressure. It can shut us down. I have found that it's better to take the opposite approach, and that is to say this narrative that no one cares. No one cares. And the reason that is helpful, because if no one cares, with the exception of you, the creator, all right, then that takes off a lot of weight. And if you're the only person that you're trying to please, then your artwork or whatever it is that you're creating tends to be more authentic. It opens up possibilities that maybe you wouldn't have considered because you're considering the other people, right? So it really does go a long way. No one cares. It's not that important. Just have fun with it and release it. Okay, here we are at the last tip, number 7, and as cliche as it may sound, there is definitely some truth to this, and that is believe to achieve. Believe to achieve. Now, I've already addressed the fact that you probably shouldn't wait around until you believe in yourself 100% before beginning a project, because it may never happen. But there does need to be a certain amount of belief in order to take that first step. And one thing that I have found helpful is that if I'm at a point in my life where I'm not particularly believing in me, then it would be best to believe in the product that I am creating. Believe in the work that I'm doing. Believe that what I am doing can make a difference to those in the world, that can be of help or entertain others, or whatever the case may be. So again, there needs to be a certain amount of belief in order to take that first step up the mountain. Whether that belief is in you or whether that belief is in your creation itself, you need to find a way to make that happen. All right, that's the list. 7 tips to help those who are struggling creatively. And I hope that, one or some, or maybe all have been helpful to a certain degree. The main thing for us creative types is to get out there and to create and to try to make this world a better place through our creations. All right, that's it for today. Thanks again for joining me. If you're still with me, light and love to you all. Until next time, bye now.